My name is Ahmed Bouzid, and I'm founder and CEO of a company called Witlingo. We help brands and actually individuals and small businesses, organizations of all size to launch voice-first experiences on the Alexa platform, on Google Assistant, and soon on the Samsung Bixby. I started graduate school way back in the mid-90s. I was in natural language. So natural language is enabling software to understand. What does understand mean? Is it when you say a bunch of words, it does what you want it to do. And then speech is taking signal, right? What you say, and converting that into text, right? So phase one, text, and then phase two, take that text and then convert it to meaning. So if I say, what's my balance? There's the first phase, convert that into text, and then the second phase is take that text and convert it into an action, which is a query that brings back information, and then it plays it back in the voice of the computer, right? So I did that, basically that's what I did for my graduate school, and then my first job was natural language developer. I was a coder, right? So we built using a language called Prolog. Prolog is sort of the language at the time for building AI that enables you to build these conversations, right? I work at a company called Unisys, right? Unisys, we had a big group, and what we did was just build a natural language / speech. And then from there, I went into a SaaS company that delivered voice called Angel.com, was based in DC, in McLean, and was purchased by a bigger company called Genesis, right, which sells contact center solutions. And then after that, spent a year and some at Amazon with the Alexa team, and I was in charge of the smart home product line, and we launched the smart home back in, I think, early 2015. And then very quickly, when I was part of the team, it was clear that this is taking off. We were launching the SDK, the Alexa Skills Kit, back in the summer of 2015. And it was clear to me that, hey, this is the next big thing, right? And since I've been in voice forever, decided to launch my company in early 2016. If you think about the evolution of computing in general, right? How we human beings have been using artificial intelligence to solve problems, right? You'll see that it evolved from the mainframe computers, where a very small number of people were able to use those tools to solve big problems, right? Banking and so forth, right? Initially the military. And then we went into, I'd say, the 60s, 70s, where we had mini computers, right? Now you have more people, researchers, universities, right? And then we went to obviously the PC, right? Where you had businesses, small businesses, were able to afford to purchase hardware and software to solve problems. And then from there, we went into cheaper PCs, right? Where individuals were able to use the computer. And at every iteration, it became easier to use this tool that allows you to solve problems. And then in the mid-2000s, we had the emergence of smartphones with the iPhone in 2007, and after that, the Google devices. And that just brought in a whole new set of people who were able to use computers easily. And not only it was an increase of people who can use it, but the people who are using it much more comfortably. It's not you don't have to remember stuff, right? It becomes more and more natural. And so I think today, since 2014-15, we've seen the emergence of the latest interface, which is voice. And voice, compared to all the other interfaces, is the easiest of the interfaces to use, right? All you have to do really is talk and listen. And anyone who can talk and listen, human beings, right, can use it, can use voice. Why now is because I believe speech recognition, natural language, the core components for delivering this interface are hard problems. They required, for their solution, they required quite a bit of knowledge of hardware, of software that came about only when we had the mass distribution of smartphones, right? Because millions and millions, or actually billions of people have these devices, whether smartphones or non-smartphones, right? We then went to the next level of data gathering. There's far more data that we can gather to solve these problems, to build these AIs that are based on machine learning. And machine learning is in essence a technology or a method for delivering software that is not algorithmic, but is data-driven. Right? And speech was solved. I believe the speech problem has been solved, and it was solved when we were able to gather the magnitude of data that we needed to solve the problem. So that's why I believe now we have actually interfaces that are performing in the sense that they understand what you're saying, and also performing in the sense that they respond quickly. Well, first of all, the reality that this is being adopted, people are adopting voice first, smart speakers, whether through the phone, they are talking to these intelligences, right? The adoption of voice first, if you compare at this stage compared to the smartphone, right? The adoption is much higher, right? So people are buying these dots and these minis and so forth, and they're putting them in their home and they're talking to them, right? So number one, the reality that there is a baseline of facts that you need to be aware that people are using these devices. And they are using these devices to do things that are real, like they are basic things like alarms and so forth, but also they're asking questions, right? And they are seeing that these interfaces are performing, meaning they are integrating them in their routine. When they want to do something, they say, oh, that Alexa is pretty smart. She can do this, and that. I'm going to try and ask her about this, right? And then soon they will expect your brand to be there, right? Just like, remember when the smartphone came out, and it was about folks who want to build a business, so they have games, or so they want to make money, right? And so very few companies had actually a mobile app for their business, right? But then it started evolving where at one point it tipped where if you are a bank or if you are wherever you may be a business and you don't have a mobile app, that's suspect, right? So we're evolving towards that, and the trajectory, if you just if you see what happened with with social, right? Social being Facebook and YouTube and all of those. At the very beginning, it was like, what is this? Should I be doing any of this? And then 3 or 4 or 5 years later, you must have it. It's a table stake. Mm-hmm. So those who got in early, who understood, who differentiated themselves, who leveraged that early entry to say that, hey, we are, using we're on top of things and so forth, and who also leverage those properties to increase their SEO, right? Because you have presence, because people are using you, you will have an edge that is going to be very hard for your competitors to catch up with. Or if you are on the other side, it's very hard for you to compete, in a meaningful way. And when it comes to technology, especially when technology is adopted by the masses, there is a maxim like the earlier you get, the better. And also the earlier you get, it'll be cheaper for you to do things now than to do it later, where the prices will go up. Right now, folks are trying to get business. I am trying to get business. So I'll cut deals for folks because I want to generate revenue and learn and so forth. So the early adoption is the way to go. So we will have a workshop. And one thing that I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just to make the point that what I've seen in the space in terms of spreading the word, there's been a lot of emphasis about development, coding, hackathons, and so forth, and not enough on design, research, right, testing, right? Excellence and quality is not only about your software and what it does, but whether it's solving the right problem, right? You could have a great skill in terms of the code is perfect, it doesn't crack anyway, right? But nobody's going to use it because it's not solving a real problem. And why is that? It's because you didn't do the research. You didn't go and find out and talk to, a real person or a bunch of people who are, say, elderly people or people who are, teachers who want to use the technology and see the use cases where there'll be adoption, right? Number one. And number two, design, right? There's not enough design out there, right? And so the workshop is going to be, it's called, I think, ideation and design for healthcare. Right? We are going to take a very specific use case, the use case of you are a patient, you just had knee surgery, right? And now you're at home and you have your Alexa, and folks who have knee surgeries have like 20 questions they ask all the time, right? What they do today, they call their doctor or they go to the web and they try to figure out what the answer is. How about if we go and find out what are the top 20 questions people ask, get an Alexa skill that is going to answer those questions and and deliver something of value. And so we will talk about how we did that, and then we'll pick a couple of use cases and work with the audience to go through that process. So microcasting is an emerging trend, which I think is going to be here to stay, that consists in folks creating a short, like 1 minute or so, podcast, minicast, right? That has one specific point that the microcaster wants to make, and that in essence can be delivered through mainly through Alexa and Google, through in the context of a routine, right? So you're driving in your car, you want to listen to 5 or 6 experts, right? The voice folks, and maybe about stocks and so forth, right? And you don't want to hear, you don't want to invest the whole podcast, right? People listen to podcasts when they are, I don't know, I listen to podcasts when I'm preparing food, or when I'm doing laundry, or I'm fixing something. But for short, to the point things, I think microcasting is the way to go, and we are seeing a lot of adoption of it out there. And there are studies that show that for certain contexts, people want to listen to short, 1-minute audios that get to the point. We have launched a tool called Castlingo that allows anyone to basically launch a microcast. The whole point of it is it is the easiest way to launch a microcast. And again, voice is about ease of use, ease of asking, and ease of consuming by listening, right? You don't have to go and fiddle around. You just ask and listen. And so this tool is designed within that ethos. Anyone can download the Castlingo app. Anyone, it'll be a big button there. You click on it, you speak, you click, and it's done. And it's posted. It's available on Alexa as your own microcasting skill. Because voice is easy to, as I was saying, easy to use as an interface. You ask and you listen. The core thing is ease of creation. So it's easy to create audio, right? If you have the right tools, you just speak. You don't have to, type and upload and download. You just talk, right? So I think, as a consequence of that, as these tools start to emerge, things like this, like Castlingo and so forth, we will see the emergence of what I'm thinking of being a sort of a voice-first web, a web of audio created by experts and people who care about certain things, right? And with the emergence of this voice-first web, we'll have tools such as browsing. So what does it mean to browse the voice-first web? You just ask a question, you get an answer, and that answer is provided by the crowd. Just like we have Wikipedia that emerged from all these people who are passionate about something or other, right? They created this amazing thing called Wikipedia. I think we will see something like this emerge for voice.